Hello, I'm Dr. Marcus.
And I'm Charlie, and this is the Mood Booster podcast.
In this episode, we're talking about why we argue, how to do it better, but really just reflecting on the art of debate.
It's a really, really interesting episode. We actually look into ancient Greek philosophy, people like Socrates, how to properly have a debate with someone, and how to have a good conversation.
Yeah, it's all about sort of learning from each other and coming from a place of curiosity over combat. We unpack loads of that, things about the ego and confirmation bias, loads of really cool things. And yeah, good tips as always, right?
100%. You'll actually learn exactly how to have a more meaningful debate, how to get your point across better, but also how to learn and how to listen. Some really, really interesting tools there.
Yeah, and I think it's important also to say that while this is titled debate and debating, this is also kind of something that just extends to conversations that might feel uncomfortable typically between two people, friends, romantic partners, whoever
Family,
it is.
yeah.
In using these tools and tips, it just allows you to go into what might be difficult conversations in general and really learn and hear each other.
And how to navigate it better.
Yeah.
It's a lovely, lovely episode. As usual, we have both learned so much, and we think that you'll learn lots too. Hopefully you also love it.
Yeah,
Let's
do
go.
it. Woo! Woo! In this podcast, we share evidence-based tools, tips, and advice to help you boost your mood, improve your well-being, and find joy in the everyday.
We talk about life's highs, lows, and everything in between with our real stories and reflections.
With pillars rooted in introspection, connection, and presence, this is the home of well-being and joy.
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Woo! Hello, everyone.
Buongiorno.
Welcome back to the Mood Booster podcast.
Welcome in.
Wow, another one?
Not another one.
Another
You're
episode.
joking.
You're joking. Welcome back to episode 31.
31.
This is an exciting one.
Spanish lessons. Sorry, I'm
Spanish.
getting carried away.
Just drop that tidbit in there.
Yes, welcome to 31, episode 21. 31,
31, almost there, pal.
Golly gosh.
31 episodes.
Just gone back 10 weeks.
We have done, haven't we?
Estoy loco.
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
31 weeks of the Mood Booster podcast.
Today's episode, we're talking about why we argue and how to do it better, reflecting on the art of debate.
On the debating topic.
Yes.
Very, very excited for this one. This is one that Marcus and I actually have a couple of points which we might disagree on, might agree on.
Ironically.
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
That's great. Well done.
Well done.
Well done.
I'm so intrigued to hear how we disagree.
I'm so intrigued to how you react.
And I'm going to start from a place of intrigue and understanding your perspective.
Because that's what we do in debate.
And having our shared values at the foundations upon which we
give you
discuss.
a couple pints and there'll be an argument, mate.
Yeah,
so.
well, exactly. So what's
funny?
What's interesting, or why we want to talk about this, is because numerous reasons. There's lots. This is actually part one of two parts. There's lots going on in the world about debating and, well, not debating itself, but just lots of different opposing ideas and ideologies and all these things. We've lost the ability to discuss and debate.
100%.
But on a smaller scale, we're starting with you and I.
We are. Just the day-to-day debates.
Day-to-day debates.
How to have a meaningful... It's more than a conversation, but how to, A, get your point across in a good manner and also hear someone else. Because, as you just said, when we lose that art of discussion, that's when we go backwards. So, as we're doing here, having a discussion, sometimes it can turn into a bit of a debate, a bit of a back and forth. So we really wanted to unpack what that looks like.
And as you know, or as we've sort of laid clear in our sort of foundations or the pillars of this podcast is within introspection. Something that works so well in our friendship is that we question each other and challenge each other, and there's often a safe space to do so, and a reciprocity and a sort of a discussion. But sometimes if there's a beer involved, that safe space or mutual understanding can sometimes not always be there.
From one side in particular, I'm joking.
And so for example, this weekend, which kind of in part sparked the idea for this episode, as well as other things going on, which again we'll go on to next week. We were like, have few beers down and just got into quite
6 beers.
a heated debate.
We did.
And we have been known to do that over a drink in the past.
We have. It's a bit of a common theme now. It seems to be. Like, I remember in Copenhagen when we were in a brewery. It was the last ones there to like 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And they were closing up, and this waitress walks over, and we are in the midst of a very, I'd say at that point it's past the debate. It's more into a shouting match about meat eating versus vegetarianism, like things. I remember one of us, I can't remember who, was like, "You're such an idiot for saying that." This waitress walks over. "We're actually closing now, guys." And we're like, "Okay, yep, sure thing. We'll be gone in 15 minutes. You have no idea what you're saying." Back and forth there. It spiraled quickly.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like the point you said about the introspection there. It's about asking the difficult questions. And if you can be as open-minded as possible to hear, that's when we grow.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about, is growing and improving and learning.
All of the above. But before we get into all of that,
Of course.
the above, Charlie,
Yes.
talk to me. How was your week?
My week was lovely. Thank you very much. As you just mentioned there, on the weekend, we actually went away, didn't we?
Yeah, we
went
did.
to Cornwall, which was very, very lovely.
It was lovely.
I went to university around there in Devon and Plymouth. So a lot of the places which we went in Cornwall were like local surf breaks. That was actually the purpose of the weekend, was a little surfing weekend. So much fun. I've missed it. I've missed it a lot. I don't do it enough. I always say it.
You do always say it.
I always say it.
You
I
say it all
don't do
the
it
time.
enough.
You say it. It's one of your morning mantras, actually.
It's actually written on my eyelids.
Yeah. Inside, or?
Yes.
That must have hurt.
Don't ask me about it. I won't tell.
No, I don't ask, don't tell.
I won't tell. I shan't tell.
More on that next week.
I shan't tell. But anyway, it was a surfing weekend down in Cornwall, which was so much fun. We rented a couple boards, a couple wetsuits. We were camping as well, and just had an elite weekend.
Yes.
I was saying to someone at work, actually, a lot of nostalgia I was actually feeling
Nice.
down in Cornwall. Just like whether it is down to the littlest things like the roads or the little places I've not been to in years.
Yeah.
The memories of that was lovely.
I picked that up.
Did you?
Yeah, it was nice to see. Like, you were telling stories or recounting memories and things of mainly your time with Tom more than anyone. But, Tom and your school friends. But
Of course.
they were also talking about different uni things as well. And yeah, it was nice to hear and see.
No, it was absolutely lovely. Yeah, so that was our weekend, which was sublime. The surfing was great fun, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was fun.
Would you say our debate was in the water about piping out?
I was proud of myself
Should be.
because it was extremely difficult. I've only surfed now twice. When I started, it was once prior. And I was just, Charlie was like, "Oh, are you nervous or anything?" And having enjoyed it so much the time before, I was like, "Nah, it'll be fun. I'm sure it'll be difficult, but I'll have a good time." Lord, was I in for a ride.
That's England surfing for you.
Yeah, it took me the whole time, the first day, to just paddle out. It was so difficult. I couldn't get past the crashing waves or whatever it's called. And then my heart rate was like 170, 180. And I was like, I'm exhausted. And I was just trying again. And like, it was really, what's the word? Demotivating, not demoralizing because it's not that deep, but like,
it can be that, yeah.
Yeah, it was just so difficult, and in my mind, every time I'd get knocked back and like brought back into closer to land, I was just like keep going, keep trying, and each time it was just the motivation was whittling. But I didn't let it defeat me, and I managed to carry on. And the next day, just got straight back on the saddle, or the board.
Straight back on the board.
In this case,
Classic
and
saying.
carried on. And yeah, it was fun. I struggled. It was tiring as heck. And on the last day, was like trying to paddle back in because I think there was a swell or something. There was not a swell.
There was a riptide.
A riptide. Sorry,
yeah, we got caught in
I know what I'm talking about.
A large beach, which was all a rip.
And I was just there so tired, just trying to paddle back in. Like, I cannot keep doing this, but managed to get in, and had a lovely time surfing.
Whenever I'd look over at you, like just to sort of check to see if you weren't drowning, I'd always see this like look on your face, like of please help, I'm struggling. Like it was
exhaustion.
But you were like trying to like look, and I was like, I can't really help you paddle in, but you weren't looking for help, but you're just checking that like. Yeah. You weren't dying.
Exhaustion.
You did well though. You did well. Like England surfing is a next level.
Yeah.
It's very crashy and it's It's not easy. It's the fact that you have to paddle out and paddle in.
That first board was way harder as well.
It's just a
Which
fat foamy.
I never want to be like I'll blame your tool situation, so I wasn't. But then I got a different board on the second or third day, and I was like, this is so much easier.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but it was significantly easier than the first board.
If you're ever in Cornwall, the Pit Surf, your boy Johnny will hook you up with the surfboard wherever you are.
Might be sponsored at this point.
I'd happily sponsor Johnny.
No, well, yeah.
We should probably speak about it before.
Yeah.
More of a friendly shout out. He's an absolute
In
legend.
a sense of a gift in kind at this point.
Of course, yes, you're right.
But anyway, yeah, no, that was super fun. My
great.
highlight of the weekend was probably the nice restaurant we went to on the first. Was it the first night?
The Pig.
Yeah,
That was
lovely.
unreal.
The Pig are a chain of restaurants in this country that are just nice restaurants, and we just went and had a nice time, and it was lovely. Which part are you laughing at?
Their whole USP of the Pig is everything is grown within a 25-mile radius. Whether it's the mushrooms, the meat that they get, the oysters, the fish, it's all within a 25-mile radius. So it's really, really local food. And this waitress is over our table, and we've had a couple of glasses of wine at this point. We're getting a bit rowdy, having a bit of fun. I think I told the previous waiter that he looked like Fred again as well.
You did indeed.
I was like, this is meant in the greatest compliment, mate, but you look like Fred again. Now I look back and I'm such an idiot for saying that.
I was just like,
Yeah. And he's like, I've actually heard that before. Anyway, we're there asking the waitress where it's all from, where the mushrooms are grown. You got, I think, asked previously, where is the squash grown? So he said, it's just out by there. I then asked where the gnocchi... Just absolutely railroaded the joke. Over there. And then I proceed to ask where the gnocchi is grown. Gnocchi being potato and flour, which you make. She was like, oh, I actually don't know. That's actually a great question. I was like, oh, no worries, it's fine. Thinking that it was a funny joke, but...
Was that the joke?
Don't do that. Don't do that. You absolutely...
It was really funny at the time, because it was like, he was obviously being sarcastic about gnocchi being grown, and we weren't laughing at her expense, but how she was like, oh, I'm not sure actually. Let me find out. It was like, it's okay.
I actually asked the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like that blinker fluid joke, isn't it?
The bread comes and you like shove it in your face.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a great time, and the food was delicious.
I have a thing where if there's a bit of bread and it's actually good bread, I need to sniff it. I need to inhale it.
You did.
And I shall do that.
It went up your nostrils. It did.
So good.
Exactly like
so
that.
that was the Pig. That was a lovely restaurant, wasn't it?
Nice glass of Beaujolais. You had a lovely time.
We did indeed. And we had a debate.
Yeah, we did.
Indeed.
We did have a debate.
We did have a debate.
Or two.
Several debates. I want to strip it back. We're obviously talking about debate here.
Yeah.
You've always had a debate since you were young. You were in debate class, right? Or you the president of debates?
No, I wasn't the president. That sounds so American. I was the president of debate team.
Of debate club.
No, I was in debate society. I don't know. It was like year 7, year 8.
But you've always liked to debate.
Yes and no. I don't actually like debating, but at the same time, I think I do, because part of it is difficult in a sense of, especially if you're, debating someone where there's animosity and those sorts of things. Anytime there's any form of animosity or tension, I then just start to like recoil, and I can't debate effectively because it becomes emotive as opposed to like logical.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy discussing things and discussing concepts, phenomena, whatever it is, and sharing viewpoints, and also sharing viewpoints in areas of which I am passionate about or feel like, society needs to progress in, for example. So,
100%.
I would say I enjoy talking about things I'm passionate about
100%.
I think these days in like a safe space. When people, for example, ask me why I'm vegetarian outside of like a safe space, I find it slightly uncomfortable, and I'm like, I just don't want to get into that.
There might be judgment there.
Yeah, and those things of like animosity or whatever, and it's also I just don't care enough to. But if there's a safe space and it's like an enjoyable situation, or hopefully enjoyable, I do like having a conversation or a debate, I would say.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. What about you?
Yes and no, and this might come as a bit of a surprise. This isn't the 100% of the time. This is something I am working on. I'd say I always try to be when sober, I should say, very observational and very like in the middle. Like if it's an issue, I don't care about it as much as I could or should. And that means that when I'm having a debate or a conversation, if I find it getting heated or emotional from the other side, I'll just sort of be like, okay, this isn't working. Because for me, the best debates are when both sides don't come at it from an emotional point, but both come at it from very much a lens of trying to find out the answer. Can have completely opposing points, but that's quite hard to find often because people are so passionate. I've found even to go to the lengths of tying their identity to the thing that they're trying to debate. And I know that's one thing that we want to go into something next week when we do a deeper dive. But, you know, whether it's anything, people are now, it seems to be more than ever that we're tying who we are and our sense of self to these values and ideas.
Yeah.
And that, so when you challenge that, it can often get really confrontational. And that's something I don't typically do, is tie myself to those sorts of ideals. So when I'm seen to be talking back and forth with that, as you say, if it's not a safe space, it's just like, what are we doing here? Just complete, just like disagreement. But when there's a good space for it and you sort of have a conversation or a debate with someone where it's, you have opposing views, but you actually get you're both actually there to listen and to actually learn. If that's obvious that both of you want to learn, then that's a great debate. But finding that can often be quite challenging.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. So
because I think this is maybe something that you could challenge as well. People often want to get their point to be heard instead of want to learn. I think that's very common.
Well, that's exactly one of the main issues with debating.
That people don't want to...
Yeah. Some of our dear friends, Jay and Lucy, very good friends of ours. Funny quip that Lucy says about Jay. They're a couple, and Lucy says about Jay, which I now carry with me whenever I'm speaking to pretty much anyone or like in a debate, because I just observe it, is, are you, she says to him, are you listening to me or are you waiting for your turn to speak? And it's so accurate. It's like, are you actively, and this is what we're going to unpack and like get into today, but are you actually actively listening and trying to understand and trying to learn, or are you just trying to prove your point and to try and be right? And I feel like being completely like, I'm not perfect at all. I completely often can just try to be right as opposed to trying 100%. To understand, especially when you're coming from a place of like, speaking from my sense, like, oh, this is a progress that needs to happen in society, or this is a view that I have that someone else doesn't, and therefore I need them to understand my view, and therefore I'm motivated to be right about it, so then they can see that that's correct and valid. Whereas actually that's something that isn't necessarily the best method of debating and having a discussion. And when you start from that place, you set yourself up for frustration, for emotion, for all of the things that aren't conducive with learning and understanding, because you're just trying to push your perspective as opposed to your agenda. And that's the starting point of debating and discussion, is flipping that from actually, this isn't something for me to just push my agenda, it's something for me to learn. And if you can both mutually do that, that's great. You're both learning from each other with 100% respect and open-mindedness. It's a general sense of humility, which is very hard, because even when you hear the word ego, we typically see that as negative. We say, oh, this person's got an ego, and you'd see it as an attack if someone said that to you. But having humility, whether it's intellectual or emotional humility, to say, I'm going to park my agenda to get my point across for a second and just actively listen to what this person's saying. I also struggle with that sometimes as well. Yeah. I'll say you could probably say the same to me. So I'm not saying, again, I'm doing what I'm about to say we do. But like, there's nuance in debates that I feel like people don't also hold space for or give account to, and assume the other person's position without actually hearing what they're saying as well. Yes. So like, for example, we were having a debate, not a debate, just a discussion the other day, and in an attempt to not, because I feel like sometimes you could say the same to me, like this isn't me saying I'm better, but like I feel like sometimes when I'm debating you, it's like you've already assumed my position, so therefore hear everything through that lens, which is another thing. So I then have to sort of every other sentence be like, by the way, I agree with you, but by the way, I agree with you, but for the sake of having a debate. And again, it's like stripping it back and knowing that like I don't necessarily always have to say that nuance, or one shouldn't necessarily always have to go into that nuance of I agree with you but, or this is this but, like we know that there's layers to everything and this is not just a binary I agree or don't agree. We're 100%. Having an open discussion.
I think when in the nature of a debate, because for instance with what we were talking about, I had known your stance previously, you clarifying that wasn't what you were saying was important, because without that I think your stance was what I knew. I think that was absolutely fine. So I think you clarifying, I do agree, but I think that was important because it contextualizes, you're not actually coming from a place of emotion, which if it was like a conversation or you just relaying how you feel, that would be there, I think.
Okay, getting into a debate here. If I don't even know my position, because I'm learning about it, how do you know what my position is going to be? Because you said that is what you said. That's something that I knew.
Yeah,
I knew your position from what you'd previously said, but I'm here learning. I don't fully know my position.
Of course.
So how would you? That's assuming my position.
Because of our previous conversations where you have gotten your point across in this exact same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I say, I don't even know my position. I'm here learning in a conversation.
Yeah.
So to say I know your position from previous conversations,
we can always learn more. I completely agree. However, having spent a lot of time with you, I'm very well aware of where you stand on certain things. And when you brought this point to me, I was like, I know he stands in this position because we've had conversations about this.
But you say that, but I don't know that that's true because, like I say, even I don't know where I stand.
It sounds like I assumed, which I'll fully apologise for.
Like,
I apologise for assuming. It only makes an ass out of you and me, you feel what I'm saying? However, from our previous conversations, I wasn't just sort of myself assuming, I feel like, necessarily. Just, guessing what your standpoint was.
But then that's where, like, even from the theoretical foundations, which we'll very quickly get into, it's like you're assuming, as opposed to, which we always try and do with introspection and open-mindedness, is even if we can know someone really well, like I know myself like better than anyone, like it's my own brain, but I still don't necessarily know what I'm thinking until I'm like unpacking it. So to go into a conversation or a dialogue with someone else and be like, I know you, I live with you, I'm your best friend or whatever, I know what you're thinking. It already potentially shuts down an open-minded conversation because you're assuming, and there's the lack of curiosity there potentially.
100%. I think the lack of curiosity, that conversation was doomed from the start. It wasn't necessarily. I mean, it wasn't a good debate by any sort of standard. But the lack of curiosity from both sides very much turned it into just trying to get points across and trying to get the other person to understand where they were wrong. But yeah. I think the main thing is the curiosity, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
framing it.
That's the Socratic method.
This is cool. I like this one.
So tell us, Charlie, before I go into what the Socratic method is, you're a bit of a history buff. Who's Socrates?
He's an ancient philosopher.
Yes.
I believe an ancient Greek philosopher, Socrates.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes. He was around, 400 BC, was it?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, Socrates, he's one of the founding fathers of philosophy. And what comes with philosophy, ancient philosophy, is things like conversation, debate, introspection, everything like that.
And knowledge acquisition and all of those sorts of things. And
just wanting to learn more. That was what they were all about.
Yeah. So the Socratic method, based on teachings from Socrates himself, is curiosity over combat. Now, the Socratic method is adopted in teaching and teaching practices and adapting how we teach to then how we learn, and educating individuals so we can learn in certain ways, but it also is applicable to conversations with one another and just how we, I guess, because a debate should be about learning, it's applicable to the debating context. So like I say, the Socratic method is about curiosity over combat, and it's the earliest model of constructive debate. It's about asking questions, testing assumptions, and staying curious rather than combative. So it's like we're saying here, we often can come into a debate, and even the word debate, some of us might have schemas around that as like
negative connotations.
Yeah, I'm here to debate someone and be right and win. And in debate club, it's like there's a winner in a debate club, for example, but it's the winner of a debate club isn't necessarily the person who has the final say or convinces the room. There's more nuance to it, and it's how the method of debating is what is more assessed in that context. But in the Socratic method, the key concept is intellectual humility.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what Socrates' teachings were about. We should approach, and this is also sort of what I love about the introspection and inspiration of everything we're doing, is we are approaching life through this humility of, I don't know enough, and I will never, that we're always becoming, we're never reaching. And that also not only applies to lessons we're learning about ourselves and, you know, how to be a better person, but also our knowledge and our knowledge acquisition and our intellectual ability. We're always learning. You could be the smartest person in the world and you could still have capacity to learn. And when you come into a situation or a conversation or a debate in this context, if you can reframe that as, I know better than this person, or I know loads, or I'm an expert in this area too, what can I learn from this situation? It allows you to lead with that curiosity, and just completely then allows you to sort of put your defenses down and to not lead with attack, because you're trying to actually consume and you're trying to learn and become more knowledgeable and acquire that knowledge.
That's really interesting. It also, from just being a person who's been in these sorts of conversations before, when you have the curiosity as the goal, or to try and learn more, you instantly take yourself out of it in a way, but you also put you trying to learn and become more, even if you don't agree with the point. Asking questions because you're really curious about that point takes your whole sense of ego out of it. Your pride, your person, your sort of sense of self. If you can remove that, this is quite interesting. I don't really speak about this a lot on this podcast, but a lot of what I do in my job is in sales. Is asking questions and going further and further and further down to people's intentions, their inner beliefs, their workings, because that helps you understand where they're coming from. So I completely get that in a debate, you know, you have this common goal to find out the answer. I think it also is probably quite similar in relationships as well. If it goes down to communication and how you communicate, which is a large part of what we do here. If you and the person who you're having that conversation with can hold the goal there instead of you versus that person, be a lot more constructive.
Well, it's us working together for a shared goal of learning together.
Find out the answer.
What's the point in engaging in this debate with someone where actually it might sound woo-woo, but it's like actually a beautiful interaction between two people, that we're sharing our own experience and our own knowledge with each other
100%.
To help each other sort of blend that and know more as a consequence, independently but also collectively.
Here's one for you, not to railroad this because this is really interesting. If you are about to engage in a debate with someone and you can see that they're very emotive, that they're very passionate about what they're, you know, feeling, what they're saying, if you're there trying to learn, who is it to not engage? Like, would you see that and would you not engage? Or how long would you try and have a debate with that person?
Well, I think it's a lot of about stripping it back. And also I would ask myself, why is that person feeling that way and reacting that way?
Great question.
Why are they feeling agitated? And that will come down to, in the context of a debate, will often come down to, my values are feeling under attack. You're assuming things about the other person, like, aka you don't agree with my values, or because you don't agree, you're this, that, and the third in terms of morally incorrect or whatever. And really feeling like very passionate about something, that to the point where in this debate I'm not being heard, and I'm basically sort of, my passion is being called to question, and therefore we'll come on to next week, tying things with identity and all of those things. It can just become very sort of heated or agitated. What I would say in that context, I would ask those sorts of questions and observe that, and that would, for me, what I'd like to be able to do, which I don't always, is to give grace in that moment and be like, okay, well, this person for whatever reason is feeling not heard, or feeling that their point isn't getting across, being, you know, adequately conveyed. Let me just just give space to them to just show intrigue again and just ask them and allow them that sort of, as opposed to me coming back with counter ideas or
Your own
challenges.
points,
Yeah. There's space for that, but just to get back to some sort of baseline, let's give them that space of, okay, so tell me more about your feelings about this, or not necessarily your feelings, but your understanding about this. Tell me more because I'm intrigued and I want to know. And you will see very quickly in that moment the defensiveness and the agitation dissipate very
100%.
quickly because they're being heard and they're being understood, as opposed to being like, you're agitated, therefore I'm going to rise to that and also become agitated, because then it just keeps rising and keeps rising and keeps rising until there's no one's hearing anyone.
It's probably quite easy to hear that and be, have the stance of, well, why is that my responsibility to take the higher ground? Why is it my responsibility when this person who I want to engage with isn't taking the responsibility themselves? However, if you yourself want to have a better experience, you have full control to be able to, like, I'm going to just, ask some really interesting questions to find out their assumptions, their beliefs, their passions, where it's coming from, so that I can ask the right questions. That'll later on then lead you to getting your point across maybe better.
Yeah.
But through that curiosity and taking the responsibility to be curious about what the other person is saying and feeling, that actually lets you learn as well, which is the goal. That is the gold standard of a debate, is to learn.
Yeah. In a debate, when someone gets angry, don't rise to their anger.
Yeah.
Lower and ask them questions and give them space and make them feel heard. I feel like that's a really important starting place. And it comes 100%. From that curiosity. And I know you said I need to take the moral high ground or whatever. Why should I be the one to do that? But then again, that assumes that there's some sort of right and wrong in this situation.
Exactly.
Actually, someone that strip away all of that sort of superiority or moral questioning from a debate, and it's just a conversation, and someone in front of me is agitated. How can I help them be less agitated? And it's being more of also an open-minded, empathetic person in that moment, because again, when you lead from a place of curiosity as opposed to I need to prove my point, it allows you to then just be a bit more sort of receptive and open-minded and see the nuance of a conversation for what it is, and not just my point versus your point. Okay, there's actually someone who's just sitting here who's agitated. Let's figure that out before we can actually start to intellectually share information.
What I find is I always, if I can do that, I'll always thank myself, because the conversation goes so much better than if you were to sort of rise or sink to that level of the other person. And even if you're being that person as well, you're sort of blinded a bit by how you see it. It feels really good if you have someone on the other side as well who can, guide that debate if you're the person who's not listening as well.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. This is a tip. I don't think I've actually told you this, but it's a little tool that I try and use whenever I can. Pardon me, sorry. It's a very simple one. Is if I'm struggling to sort of distance myself from the emotion of a conversation, or distance myself from, how I feel in a conversation which is leading it to go poorly. A simple thing is I would sit here and my brain would imagine looking down on me and the other person's conversation from a bird's eye view. Genuinely. I will imagine myself floating above me and the other person. Like right now, I can imagine me floating just above, just looking downwards. And what that does is it takes me out of my own brain. It takes me out of the emotions and allows me to look down.
Very cool.
Genuinely, it's such a weird thing. It's such a simple tool. It's just like for 3 seconds, imagine looking downwards. Very quickly you're able to get perspective on yourself and how you're acting, and you're also able to sort of come at it from a far more logical point of view, being like assess perspective and that. And if you can remember to just try and use that bird's eye view tool,
very cool.
This is something that we haven't discussed before, but I thought I'd mention it because it's something I've used before. You sometimes forget if you're really passionate, of course, but
it allows you to give that objectivity, or bring back in that objectivity to the conversation. Humility, yes.
Intellectual humility.
But obviously you get so tied in the my idea, your idea, this is where this is going, and all of those things. If you can allow yourself for one moment, as you use this very cool tool to do,
100%.
to just zoom out and be like, okay, we both are here. Objectively, what is this looking like? Is this messy? Is this what's going on? And like, is this vital that we speak to each other in this way? Are we actually even hearing each other at this point? And if you can just quickly like zoom out to do that, it allows you to really resettle and recalibrate and do all of the above. Yeah.
100%.
Mm,
Yeah,
very cool.
very cool.
That kind of also links to a bit of cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
Maybe a bit of a tenuous link, but sit with me. So cognitive dissonance is the idea that we have our beliefs linked to our identity and we have our values linked to our identity. And our identity is something that as human beings, we need to form our identity, and that's a really important foundation upon which we function and we see ourselves, and we see ourselves within our society and who we are and all of those things. It's the beliefs that we have about ourselves and how we fit into society.
Okay.
And according to cognitive dissonance theory, when we are met with beliefs or schemas or values that challenge our own, it causes cognitive dissonance. And what cognitive dissonance means, simply put, is like a discomfort in your brain. It's uncomfortable to hear challenging information or information that goes against what we believe to be true or what aligns with our values. Basically, when new information challenges our beliefs, we feel that psychological discomfort. So in a debate, we're basically potentially setting ourselves up or going into cognitive dissonance, because the nature of a debate is we're learning information that isn't always aligned with what we already know to be true.
That's so interesting.
So again, according to the Socratic method, we should always be trying to challenge what we know and believe more and understand more. But from a baseline system, and like even in our brain, our limbic system, our emotions, and all of those things, we don't necessarily want to be challenged or learn those things. So it's up to us to sort of manage that cognitive dissonance and that cognitive discomfort to be able to effectively learn and grow. But it won't necessarily always be comfortable. But if we can first understand that, okay, that's fine that it's not comfortable, because that's a normal process. Our brain doesn't like counter information or challenging information. It gives you power to know that that's a normal reaction to have, and then you can overcome that 100%. And work through that.
That's so interesting.
Because we when in terms of a debate and cognitive dissonance, our knee-jerk reaction is to sort of challenge that information by rejecting it or irrationalizing it or dehumanizing the other person.
Down, 100%.
And just not actually critically engaging with it and just completely pushing it away and saying, actually, no, I'm not going to take that on or absorb that. Here's my point.
Because you're this.
Yeah, you must understand my point, because it's comfortable for you to know what's true in my mind, and stick to that status quo and not challenge that status quo.
That's a story for all of humankind, isn't it? That's probably one of the greatest pitfalls of why we have always fought. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's probably, that theory there is probably the baseline for a lot of the disconnect that we've always felt within humans. Yeah. I think that's a fantastic theory. And I completely see it. Like we hang out with groups and we tie ourselves to friends and we surround ourselves with news and socials which we agree with. And that is how bubbles are formed and how we become far more disconnected as well. That is difficult to be able to separate yourself from that. And I feel like if you can, I think it goes back to like an identity self, doesn't it? Like who we are, who are you? It's so easy to tie yourself to these sorts of values.
I think it's something that debating effectively requires tolerating discomfort or dissonance long enough to learn from it.
There you go.
So
get that on a pillow.
In terms of advice,
yes,
maybe a bit like what you were saying and why the link was there originally, is whether it's zooming out and allowing yourself a couple seconds to be a bird's eye view to see what's going on. But the advice in terms of dissonance is when we're debating, like I say, we have a limbic system in our brain, which is all of our emotions, that wants to react immediately to that information and come back with a combative, this is wrong because of this, and it's emotion led. If we can just sit with that dissonance for one moment and allow ourselves that time just to allow, the other parts of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, the higher order thinking to kick in and allow us to rationally and, more objectively conceptualize a response, it just allows for that sort of emotive side of the debate to sort of be kept at bay, because it allows us to sort of work through that dissonance just with time.
Yeah.
So even in a tip, whether it's zooming out, like Charlie said, of let me just for 3 seconds just see what this actually looks like, or you've heard a point from someone, take 2 seconds. There's one of the most powerful things in a conversation is being slow and steady and taking your time.
Yeah.
Super powerful for many reasons, but in a debate, it just allows you to remain composed and remain emotional or objective in this sense.
Yeah, 100%. The first step to me at least seems like awareness is the first part, is being aware of the emotions, the heightened feelings. I think it goes back to anything, but like if you're in a debate and you're feeling heated, first off, can you be aware and notice, how am I feeling? Am I feeling reactive? Is my body twitching? Am I on edge? And then if you're aware, that's the first part, I think, from what you're saying, to notice it. Second part is parking the feeling, parking ego for 2 seconds. Something I do is visualize it, as I said, with the bird's eye view. That's the way I learn, it's the way I talk, it's the way everything is. I help visualize. I imagine if you could see your ego as like a little person in a little car or whatever, it's like a little red car. Imagine the ego driving into a car park and sitting in that car park space for 1 minute, 60 seconds. Can you be in the conversation with the ego parked in the car park there, and you be in the conversation without the ego there? He can come back afterwards, but I think what you'll probably find is with the ego parked, you'll actually engage a lot more and listen.
Yeah.
But that's difficult. But that sort of visualization could probably, help.
It is.
It allows you to listen more.
Yeah. And it is difficult, especially when we talk about, and again, I'm getting carried away, but talking about sort of value-based things or identity-based things, because people so quickly feel like their own values are in question in these conversations, which then just immediately, again, it's probably annoying for you guys for saying next week we'll talk about, but like immediately your values or your identity you feel like are in question, which isn't necessarily the case. It's just an open conversation about a specific topic or a specific phenomena.
Do you think that, here's a good one for you, do you think that this is a recent trend, or it's always been that we are tying ourselves to values? I know you've only been around for 29 years, so you can't say about history, but from what you know, do you think it's been more of a recent thing where we label ourselves as this or that, or certain values or identity groups that we want to fit into? Do you think that's more of a recent thing?
Well, like social identity theory has always been around, and like the idea that we form our identity, and our identity is the foundations upon which we behave and learn and grow, and our identity is shaped by our beliefs and our values and how we relate to other people. And within that theory we also have in-groups and out-groups. So our in-groups are the people that we feel connected to and that our identity matches with, and the out-groups are the others who we don't agree with. That those sorts of phenomena have always been around, and they also link to, as I always find a way to every week, talk about the evolutionary theory of my in tribe versus my out tribe. You're safe because you match with me, you're my in tribe. You're the out tribe because you have different values, and therefore you're a potential threat and someone I need to be wary of. Those phenomena have always been around,
And that's evolutionary, that sort of theory.
partly driven by evolutionary understandings.
Hardwired to be able to try and find these identity-based, value-based identities.
For sure. And it allows us to feel safe by surrounding ourselves with people who share our values through our view of our identity. So whether that's, and again, very much we'll unpack this more next week. So being cautious not to go too much into it, but it's a lot about how we see ourselves, and whether that's about moral reasoning or fairness in the world or economic stability, whatever it is. Our views stipulate how we view ourselves and our own identity, and they're extremely interlinked, obviously.
Do you think, here's one final one then, do you think it's a good thing if we try to be less value and sort of identity based? Like, do you think it's a good thing if we try and strive for a more holistic overview instead of tying ourselves and finding these sort of in groups and out groups? Do you think that's a good thing if we try and sort of...
In a debate, so talking about...
In life, I mean, you can also say in like a debate, is that a good thing if we don't, tie ourselves to these identities or to these values or to these beliefs? Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, I think it's good for stability, and our identity is the like who we are. It's the foundation
Yeah.
upon how we behave, and according to the identity theory, social identity theory, it's fundamental to how we act and who we are as human beings.
Of course.
It's again, like in the context of this week talking about debate, it's how much we put weight on that, and you let that shape every behavior that we sort of enact.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we have internal drivers, whether it's biological, evolutionary, things like your social identity formation, those sorts of things. But we also have the ability from a cognitive perspective or a sort of higher order thinking perspective to potentially overcome those, work through those, and not just be sort of deterministic in a sense of, oh, well, this is my identity, this is my belief, or this is how I've been evolved, so therefore I'm going to think this way. Well, what I mean by that one step further is, okay, well, from the theory we have, confirmation bias, whatever it is, or cognitive dissonance. These are all theories that are within our identity, and because our identity is X, it means that we have dissonance when someone presents something that's Y, and therefore I need to challenge that Y and defend my X, all of those things. But we can see that from a theoretical perspective and break that down and say, well, it's also up to me to challenge that and know that I can accept Y, and it doesn't actually fundamentally challenge who I am as a person.
Absolutely
Or I
not.
don't necessarily have to challenge, or I don't have to accept it, but I can just learn about it. And this is where it comes back to right at the beginning. It's about learning and being inquisitive as opposed to one versus the other.
It's the curiosity.
It's curiosity.
Have that as your goalpost.
Curiosity over combat, for sure.
100%.
Yeah, and I did just mention their confirmation bias, but in line with everything, and again, that evolutionary stance, we are wired to find information that conforms to what we already know. It's safe for us to find information that is what we already know. It reduces that dissonance, that confusion. So therefore, we will engage with, or more easily or readily engage with, information that confirms information that we already know, and we're biased against information that challenges that, and we have that dissonance against that and that discomfort against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But like I say, it's that awareness that all of these mechanisms are in place, and actually it's okay that we have discomfort, but if we know that that's a normal thing to feel when we're debating, we can also work towards overcoming that, because we don't need to have discomfort, and ways to do that are, like I say, repositioning it, reframing it. I'm learning from this situation, as opposed to I'm trying to change who I am as a person, or this person's trying to change who I am as a person,
You're only
or
growing.
I'm trying to change who that person is as a person. Like, you only have responsibility of yourself
100%.
and how you learn and the information you acquire. So see it as an opportunity to learn and to grow. And yeah, you might not come away being like, I've changed my mind, or I agree with that person, but that's potentially never the objective of a debate in the first place. It's just to learn and understand more.
The more we can learn, the more we can be. The better we can be.
The more we can be.
Call me Socrates, the way I'm Socratic. Modern day philosopher right here. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much that you can learn in that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I think it's also important to humanize any debate as well.
100%.
So we're talking about debates sort of from a clinical or academic lens, but also, like you say, these are things that lend to just potential difficult or disagreeing conversations between two people.
Usually that is usually it.
Yeah. But always led by, and it feels like a debate because the words are synonymous, but actually these are just ways to communicate with people
This
actually
can often be in the pub, having a conversation with a friend and you don't agree. Try this out.
Yeah.
Ask that question which you want to know more about their stance before you lead with how you say it. Often that is literally yesterday we were on the way back home and we were outside that pub, on Monday, after run club.
Yeah.
We see those three guys outside a pub, and it was very, very posh blokes, but they were there just chatting, saying, "Oh, Monty, you're absolutely erroneous." It's like, all right, pal, we can obviously hear them having a debate and a disagreement.
Yeah.
But it's the crux of humans, even people like Socrates from 2,500 years ago are still talking about how to debate properly. Something that we're always learning, but it can often be just with family over a Christmas dinner or with friends at a pub.
Yeah.
That's often the way how it actually goes.
Yeah, it is. And that's important. It's always, usually these things are with family and with friends. And I feel like a really important thing also is to, I feel like when debates or conversations can get heated, you can lead from like an assumption place or a resentment place, or you said this before which I didn't like, and therefore you're coming from this place in this conversation again, which is annoying, and therefore I'm already like on the attack because I already think this thing about you. But if we can just strip a conversation back and know that like I say, and I don't want to use it as a buzzword because it's everywhere at the moment, but there is nuance in every conversation. Each person has daily fluctuations in their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So if we can just even humanize the person we're speaking to as well, and just remember that like they're learning in this situation as you are. It's not about an attack on your ego. It's not like they think this about you. It's just them sharing an experience.
It's often easy to forget that.
It is.
I often forget that.
And I feel like that becomes more the case the more we know someone. And ironically, actually, like we can dehumanize the person we're talking with because we feel like we know them inside out, and that therefore curiosity or that sort of assumption that curiosity or open-mindedness can sort of fall by the wayside. Because like I say, we make assumptions or we presume based on previous resentments or arguments or whatever. Well, you think this, you're this. There's always space to humanize someone. There's always space to be open-minded, even when we know them the best we can know anyone. Because arguably, like Socrates says, we don't. Sorry, that sounded ridiculous. We don't even know ourselves fully. We're learning ourselves every day. So how can the other person in that engagement or dialogue, how can you know what I'm thinking when I'm not even, and again, I don't know, it just comes down to that sort of, we're both here to learn and we're not here to attack each other. So therefore I don't need to assume what you're thinking because 100%. We're both curious with each other.
It's so often easy, I think, in a debate to, want to have grace and want to learn. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna ask a question and let this person speak. And often if the other person isn't on that same wavelength, they're a little bit, lower down, they're trying to get their point across. They will speak for just time and time and time. And you'll often after like a minute or two or three be like, okay, I asked a question. I don't really agree with what this person's saying. I'm trying to have the humility to let them speak, but they're not asking questions back. They're not doing this. What's important is the active listening, to say, okay, I'm going to listen to this person. I might not agree, but I can ask a question about what they're saying. I can challenge them, but I'm going to ask a question to find out their beliefs and their intentions. So, but what do you think about that? Is that really the case? How does that link in with that? So active listening, try and actively listen to what they're saying and then ask them another question. That helps actually get to the resolution and you'll feel so much better for it as well.
Yeah.
Because it's often hard to start, but you will feel so much better because you'll have learned and you'll actually have had a productive conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
Or a debate.
Yeah. I think if one of the final points that we haven't really touched on, but I think is important I know this is in many different forms of joint counselling and things, like, couples counselling or whatever, is leading with like I statements, which is kind of scoffed at, but sort of very important. So instead of saying, you do this, you say this, or you're wrong, it's more reframing it to, I have a different understanding, or I see this differently because, and explaining, as opposed to saying, you're wrong because. Even the small language choices you make 100%. Have a huge impact because they're not necessarily wrong. You just have a different perspective, and everything, in my opinion, is subjective, and knowledge is subjective. So I see this differently, and this is why. And if we're both trying to learn from each other, that other person should be interested to know why. If they're not, that's a different conversation. But instead of saying you're wrong because, even a small simple change of I see this differently because is that subtle change of we're not combating each other, we're learning together because I'm explaining how I see it differently, as opposed to saying you're right and I'm wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right.
100%. It's the exact same in communication in any realm, whether it's even in, again, relationships, whatever it is, communicating your boundaries, how you feel. I could easily say you do something to me and I don't like it. I could instantly say, you are X, you are Y, you are Z, or you are making me feel this way, for instance. Instead of saying and putting it on your responsibility and how you are, when you did this, it made me feel that, for instance. So it's not saying you are controlling, you are difficult. It's saying when you say or do this, I feel defensive or I feel this. And then you actually get to the crux of the problem. Labeling and accusing never helps. So it's important, as you just said there, to dial it back and focus on
Yeah.
I instead of you.
Mm.
That's a really, really good point.
What you can do is share your own personal experiences.
100%.
And again, that links to the assumption we have about each other, because it's like, well, you think this, and it's like, well, you don't know that.
100%.
You actually don't know that. All you know is what you think. And even then, are you sure what you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, no.
So let's, like you say, move it back from you're this, to all I'm speaking about is my experience and how I can learn.
Yep.
And how you can help with that, or maybe in sometimes not help with that.
100%.
Yeah. I think sometimes also, like, these are all great tips, but finally, I think it's important to say that this doesn't always work in practice.
100%.
It takes two people to have a dialogue and a conversation, and sometimes I'm not just deflecting to someone else, but sometimes things just do escalate.
Yep.
And you can quite clearly see when things are just beyond sort of remedy and the emotions are just too high. I think it's also important to sort of know that, and it's not control in like a coercive way, but you also have control over your conversations as well as the conversations you're in. And sometimes if we're trying to have a discussion, a graceful exit, like
100%.
I want to hear and learn from you, but I feel like now's not the right time. We don't need to say why, like you're this, you're that. I just feel like now's not the right time. Maybe we can talk about this another time, and there's the power in that graceful exit. It's not saying I'm morally superior or I'm the calm one here. It's just recognizing in this moment, this might not be best for either of us.
100%.
One of us is upset, both of us are upset. Even if one of us are upset, ultimately we're both going to be upset because it takes two to tango.
100%. Even if it's 20 minutes of a break, that can definitely help.
Mm.
I think it just distances you from the self and the ego a bit.
Yeah. I think there's so much though about dropping the ego in these things, and again just being like, I'm learning. Like, one of the clear breakthroughs for me, I say breakthroughs if it's a profound thing, but like one memory that stands out, and I always try to model this now, is like we were discussing like open and closed-mindedness about certain behaviors, and like going to the calisthenics park and doing like bear crawls and things, and I was just being openly candid here. I was sort of like scoffing at like bear crawls and those sorts of things and animal style walking, and we were just talking about it, and I was like, you're a grown adult, what are you doing? And it was a long conversation, but you challenged that and were like, Marcus, you're someone who's really open-minded typically, and like you're surprising me by these words. And for some reason in my mind, it was just like, no, but that is a ridiculous thing to do as an adult. But I couldn't, and it took being challenged and to allow myself to actually sit with that challenge and just not even say anything and just really question, okay, well, why do I think that? And I couldn't really have an actual logical reason to answer those sorts of questions that were being posed. And it was really about me sort of dropping that immediate defensiveness and that ego of, I know I'm right, this is the information I have available to me, that whole cognitive dissonance. It was a cognitive dissonance in that moment. I was like, but I believe it to be true to be an odd thing to do as an adult. But I made myself sit with that discomfort and question myself based on a prompt and a discussion we were having. Yeah. Instead of, and previously I might have been like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, it's just stupid, which is not an answer and it's not helpful for anyone.
The fact that you were able to go from your stance to B, an understanding within a matter of hours is incredible. I think that shows the strength that you had in that time to be able to, or the emotional intellect you had to focus on the curiosity instead of the self in a very quick time frame. It takes people their whole lifetime, if never, to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I thank you, I appreciate that. And I think it was just like trying to actively be open-minded in that moment. And this is a really trivial example, but one I can tangibly give to the listener. It just felt like, I'm being challenged here on something that is, like I say, trivial, but actually it's still a closed-minded judgment I'm making, and I'm glad that I was challenged on. Even in the moment, it felt like it was more than just being challenged on that. It was I felt like I was being told I was closed-minded. I felt like something that I just thought was stupid was like I was having to concede to this thing of it being, and it's like, really, firstly, it's not that deep. Secondly, like, what's wrong with thinking or being open-minded to the idea? And thirdly, you might just be wrong, and actually there's like physiological reasons why these people are doing this act that, from my in that moment, small-minded perspective wasn't allowing myself to see.
Yeah.
And that is a small example from a very trivial sort of conversation that could be spoken, that could be sort of applied to much larger sort of maybe potential fundamental things.
100%.
I don't want to negate some serious fundamental value-based debates, which again we'll come on to next week, but there are some tangible things there.
100%. That's good of you. Well done.
Thank you.
Good conversation.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a debate.
No. Do you have any examples where you feel like you...
Oh, so many.
Really?
So many.
Really? In the moment?
Yeah, I'm just... Since birth. I remember when my mum was trying to feed me when I was 3, and I was like, let's unpack this. Why are you feeding me this slop when I, a grown baby... I'm just playing.
I thought you were being serious.
Are there any examples? What's your question? When I felt like
that, I don't know, you used a discussion and you challenged, or you were able to sort of move past your sort of internal knee-jerk reactions and learn from that in the moment, or maybe not in the moment, because that's also okay.
Trying to think.
Interesting.
It does happen quite a lot. So getting one example here and there.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. We have a lot of debates as well.
Yeah.
Are there any times that you felt? Any times that you felt like I've done that? I'm trying to think.
The most recent one, it wasn't until the next day that it was sort of metabolized. Because in the moment it was...
We had a bit to drink there. I don't think that's a great example.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I can't...
A lot of receiving from both sides over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What was I assuming?
You want me to go into it? Now?
I want to learn.
That I was a, from your labelling, white, arrogant man.
I was labelling your behaviour in that moment as that, not who you were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was labelling the behaviour to be that. Yeah.
Well, as a whole debate in itself. Times when I felt like I have been able to listen and be quite open-minded. I feel a lot of the times that we speak, I think the reason I'm finding it tough, a lot of times we have conversations, I'm well aware I don't know as much as you do, or I'm there to sort of learn. So from the bat is something I'm very much like, that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
I think even with our conversations, maybe not necessarily in the brewery, but in our conversations about meat eating versus vegetarianism, I think I've learned a lot there as well.
Yeah.
Like, even a year ago, or whatever it is, I think I'd have thought very, very differently.
Yeah, for sure.
About a lot of the practices or just the ethics of it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have considered it because it was part of the identity that I was forming. But then having been challenged on it and actually waiting to listen, I realised that a lot of it is different.
For sure.
So I think a lot of the conversations there, I'm
fair enough.
quite interested. And I think more just in general conversations we have about inclusivity.
Yeah.
With sort of anyone.
Yeah.
Not judging, not having a knee-jerk reaction to, someone there. I think you've been able to challenge well, and I've been able to be like, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, you are someone who's extremely open-minded.
Thanks very much.
And
it's very, very
it's
sweet.
one of the foundations of everything we do.
Yeah.
And it's why I believe, we started having those conversations to start with.
Yep.
It takes two people to... And I'm someone who I feel like you're in a lot of times, not that it's one or the other, but you can be a lot more open-minded than I am in some instances. So I feel like you are extremely sort of...
That's very kind.
You're wanting to know more information.
I think you're the same as why you had challenged yourself in that moment about the bear crawling, was when I had said you were closed-minded, you hold that as such a close value for yourself. You're like, well, this is more important than the actual conversation is. Let me challenge myself.
Yeah, I don't want
straight back at you.
I really don't want to be closed-minded.
You don't. No. You can't be.
No, but we're not perfect, and I can be closed-minded, and I definitely am, so I try to challenge that. But anyway, this isn't about us. It is about us. This is all about us.
All about
Soak
me.
it up, baby.
Wait, it's all about me.
Me?
It's all about me.
What's that from?
I don't know. I remember my friend Oscar saying it, and I find it really funny.
Can you not remember? Should we summarise our practical advice?
I think we should. Some tools and tips for you on how to have a more effective debate and how to argue better.
Yes. Number 1, start from curiosity, not combat.
Number 2, pause the reflex to win.
Number 3, find shared values early on.
Number 4 is to use I statements
And number 5, know when to exit gracefully.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Socrates,
Yeah.
start from curiosity, not combat.
We've gone through these in a lot of detail today, but just to recap, ask why someone believes something before arguing what they believe. Can you tell me more about what that is and what led you to that belief? As an example, we're leading with curiosity and knowing that in any discussion we can always learn ourselves, and if we embark upon a conversation or a debate with a starting place of what can I learn from this, it just allows us to drop all of our sort of combative
100%.
arsenal and come into a conversation with curiosity
Exactly.
and humility.
Intellectual humility.
Exactly.
Number 2 is to pause the reflex to win. These conversations and these debates we're having aren't about scoring points. To win, they're about finding out and learning. That's the gold standard. If you can go into it with the goal to learn, you pause the reflex to win a conversation, you try and understand. That's going to set you up super, super well.
Yeah. Number 3 is that finding of the shared values and just really humanizing the other person. Let us remember that we're two people who share values. We're two people who care about fairness and all those sorts of things. In this moment, I might know you the best I know anyone. You might be my spouse. You might be my best friend. I still don't fully know you as you don't fully know yourself. So let me not assume everything about you. Let me not base my assumptions. Let's humanize each other and let's learn together.
100%. The next one is to use I statements. So this is basically framing it as, what do I feel in this thing? Not labeling or assuming or, telling the other person, you do this, you do that, or you are this way. Instead, flip it back to you as, I feel this way when you say that. Or for instance, this is my view, this is my opinion here. What do you think to that? Flip it back and look inside.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
And finally, when all of that doesn't work, know when to exit gracefully. Sometimes emotions just take over, whether it's both parties, one party, and if you are able to master objectively seeing that and knowing that it's okay, that we don't have to come to resolution here, and it comes back to I don't have to win here, like neither of us are enjoying this. It's okay to exit gracefully. We can pick this up another time. It's taking away and not looking at it as a moral superiority of, oh, I'm going to control this and leave this. It's just being compassionate to yourself, to the other person, and knowing it's okay that we don't have to do this right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Happy debating.
Happy debating.
Hopefully you can go forward. This is really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Wow, the fundamental pillars of being a human.
We learn so much every week.
This is great. Hopefully you've learned something. Thanks for being here again. It's elite that we're all embarking upon this journey.
Yeah.
Debating each other.
We do, like I say, we learn every week, and we're sharing evidence and psychological theory that either I know or we both know together. But still, you can know everything in the world, but it's applying that. And what I really enjoy and continue to enjoy and love about these weekly conversations is it's just allowing that recalibration or that sort of application of what do we know and how can we individually, but then with our listeners, do more and be better.
The fact that we are sitting here even talking about some dude from 2,500 years ago and his theories and his ideas and still learning on it.
It's
cool.
Lovely. It's
really
lovely.
Cool.
It's boosted my mood for sure.
Speaking of, bringing back to joy. Marcus,
yes.
Tell me something that has boosted your mood this week.
What has boosted my mood? Well, I don't know if you listened to last week's episode, but it was a fantastic episode.
It was.
With our guest, Sam, Emotional Sam.
Come on, Sam.
Our dear friend, Sam.
Yep.
He let us know this week that he has been approved for a visa to move to and live in France, which is something him and his wife are that's their goal, their dream. So it's super exciting and huge congratulations, Sam.
Incredible. Well done.
Lovely, lovely news.
Him and Emma have been traveling now for years, just going all around the world. So they've both been wanting a bit of a base, so it's lovely to see that they are settling down.
Très bon.
Hyper super cool.
What about you, Charlie? What's your mood boost of the week?
My mood boost of the week comes from the Run Club, the Monday Mood Booster. One of our lovely runners, Rita, got into the London Marathon.
Hey,
unreal.
Big up, Rita.
It's actually quite a funny story. The week before, I was trying to convince her to do the Stockholm Marathon.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. And she asked, when is it? And I told her end of May. And she was saying, I'm going to have to let you know next week, but I can't say why. I was like, what? Why? And she was like, I can't say why. And at the weekly celebrations at the beginning of the run, she was like, I've gone to London Marathon. After the run, she came up and was like, do you recall me saying about last week? I was like, oh, of course. And then she mentioned she had gotten in. And
Nice.
yeah, so it's fantastic. Well done, Rita.
Well done, Rita.
Smashing it.
You're going to smash it.
London Marathon.
Well done.
Well done.
Beautiful stuff.
Well,
Thank you very much for that.
what an episode.
It was sublime.
Put it
Loved
right there,
it.
chump. There you go.
It's just
There you go. Good stuff. Yeah.
yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining.
Yes. Thank
Marcus
you.
will do some ASMR.
For the listener, we
Turn
were
off
just
the-
trying to dap there for a couple of seconds, so sorry about
Trying to adapt.
that. ASMR.